Well, it was all set up to be the Red Bull versus Ferrari show under the sun and the scorching heat here at Circuit Paul Ricard in France, but an uncharacteristic mistake from Charles Leclerc robbed him of the chance to fight for victory and handed it to Max Verstappen, who roared home ahead of a Mercedes 2-3. Lewis Hamilton in second on his 300th Grand Prix start, and George Russell in third place. It was quite the day here at Circuit Paul Ricard. Nick De Vries here with me, Will Buxton on the post-race show. And Nick, I suppose everyone at Mercedes rather happy after the end of today's Grand Prix.
I mean, it was obviously a great team's result. The race looked rather dull at some point, but yeah, after Charles' moment, it all got very exciting.
It really did. We will run through the top 10 quickly. Verstappen, Hamilton, Russell. Russell passing Perez with just a few laps to go. Then Carlos Sainz, will talk about his race in a moment. Alonso P6, Norris P7, then Ocon, Ricciardo. And in 10th place, this man here, Mr. Lance Stroll, who we welcome to this show. Hello, Lance. Come on in. How are you, chap? We'll give you a microphone. How was the ice lolly?
Yeah, really good. Thank
Good.
you.
I'm glad.
Didn't finish it. Not that quick.
No, I did.
Oh, you did.
After that race, you know, sitting in an oven for an hour and a half.
You can have a second one if you want.
I'm on the way out.
Okay, cool.
One, yeah.
Great run today. It had looked like a really difficult weekend for you guys, and then it came to you guys in the race after a brilliant start.
Yeah, thanks. No, I think we had surprisingly better pace than anticipated coming into to the race. It felt like we could hang on to the guys in front. Yeah, had a good start, good first lap, and then I thought we were pretty competitive. Maybe a bit slower than the Alpines or Ocon in front of me, but I think we had much better pace than Ricciardo, who was struggling towards the end. And without the virtual safety car, I think maybe we even could have got another place. So it was definitely good to be back in the points.
Got close between you and Seb on that last corner as well.
Yeah, it was a little bit close, but all under control. I was struggling with tires a bit the last couple laps, and he had a bit more pace than me on the hard at the end. So yeah, had to get my elbows out.
Well, it was a great job. Many congratulations. What flavour ice lolly do you want?
Let me take a look. What do you got in there?
We've got cola, orange, lemon.
Life's not too bad on the F1 show.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, I'll cut the end off it for you there. There you go.
Where did you end up taking all your spots in lap 1? Because you obviously started quite far back and you got into 11, 10 straight away.
Yeah, I had a good launch off the line, and then I got Gasly off the line, and then Albon into turn 3, and then into turn 8. There was a bit of an incident between Ocon and Tsunoda, so I got a good run, exit of 8, and then Seb into 11, and that really set us up for a good race. So
beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
We'll let you
Well
go, man.
done.
Thank you so much
Enjoy
for coming
our
out. Cheers, Lance.
Yeah, well.
Cheers, ladies, mate.
Nice. We've got to start then, Nick, by talking.
Are we giving everyone an ice lolly?
Everyone's getting
Are
an
we
ice
sure
lolly.
we keep one for us?
We are definitely
Okay.
keeping, I think, maybe 2 for us. It is
2.
sweltering. We've got to start by talking about Charles Leclerc. He held the lead beautifully off the line, came under immense pressure from Max Verstappen. Do we think Verstappen was just holding back, or did he not quite have the pace with Charles Leclerc? Because by the end of that first stint, Leclerc was starting to pull the gap.
Yeah, I think in the early stage of the race, it looked like Max had the upper hand a little bit, but he didn't quite got past, and I think he just suffered a little bit from overheating. And then once when you lose that momentum to really make the move, then you kind of lose that, and then it just gets more and more difficult to make that pass. So I guess he was just settling in a little bit, and unfortunately, yeah, Charles lost it in the middle of 11, which was very unfortunate and really feel for him.
Max obviously pitted first, went for the undercut, came out on the hard tyres, was pumping in some fast laps. Is that the point at which Charles knew he needed to start to push to pull that back?
Well, obviously they went for an undercut, so Charles knew that he had to push at that stage of the race to make sure they would stay ahead after their pit stop. So it was a critical moment of the race, and yeah, unfortunately it ended in tears.
We've seen the onboard of Charles' moment as a race driver. Can you talk us through exactly what happened for him?
Well, I think it's this whole season, any car and many driver has have had moments that they've been caught out by a little bit of gust. The whole weekend there was a crosswind on track, and not trying to find an excuse for Charles, but certainly that can be very unpredictable. We've seen quite a few spins this weekend because of that, and I don't want to say that was the cause, but yeah, it doesn't take much to just go beyond that limit and lose it.
We heard, of course, the radio, and we're going to hear that right now because, I mean, it's a moment that could come to define the season, and I'm sure the radio itself, with the deep breathing, actually it's playing now, so we'll just pause and listen to it.
Are you okay?
I cannot touch throttle. No!
That scream, I mean, it was so raw, it was so powerful. Was that frustration with himself, or we heard him say something about the throttle either being stuck on? I mean, we heard obviously in Austria he was having issues with the sticking throttle.
Yeah, it's something that I didn't quite understood either, because I also thought I heard that, like throttle stuck. But then in the interview afterwards, he was very clear and he took, you know, the full blame for it, which is impressive how openly he talked about his own mistake. So I guess he just felt very upset about himself for making that mistake. So
Why don't we hear that? Yeah, let's hear from Charles then in his own words after the crash that took him out of this race. Has it taken him out of this championship?
Charles, happy to see you okay, but not happy to see you here. Can you just talk us through what happened, please?
Lost the rear. That's it.
Do you think it was wind, or was it maybe something technical on the car?
I don't know. Technically, we need to check. I don't think there is. I think it's just a mistake. Try to take too much around the outside, put the wheel probably somewhere dirty, but it's my fault. And if I keep doing mistakes like this, then I deserve to not win the championship. So the level is very high this year. I'm performing at a high level, but if I keep doing those mistakes, then it's pointless to be at a high level. So let's see.
A heartbreaking interview with Charles Leclerc. You can hear how hurt he was. As we understand it, that throttle reference was Charles not being able to utilize the throttle after the accident. I think possibly trying to engage reverse, trying to get himself out of the barrier.
Yeah, obviously, I don't know the details about that. I didn't hear him speaking about it, but ultimately he knew that once he lost the rear in the middle of 11, that was going to be it. So tough day.
And on a day when Max Verstappen takes the win again, could this be a defining moment in his championship year?
I think those moments are going to be defining at the end, but ultimately at the moment Max and Red Bull in my opinion have a little bit the upper hand. They've just been more consistent, more solid, and they're always there to execute when something goes wrong on the other side of the garage.
But we were talking about this before we came on air. Charles Leclerc over one lap, probably the best in Formula One right now. The risks he takes, the laps he drives, they are sensational. Ferrari just don't appear to, when it comes to the race, have that same consistent pace to be able to fight with the Red Bulls.
Yeah, on a single lap pace, Charles has been incredible. I mean, he just executes every time again. And I remember Barcelona, he spun in his first lap. He was on a great lap, and then he goes out and just does it again. And to deal with that pressure and to do it over and over again is certainly very impressive. But Sunday the real points are given, and Max and Red Bull certainly have had the upper hand over them. Then.
Driver of the day went to Carlos Sainz, who started right at the back of the field, absolutely fired his way through, started on the hard tyre. On the medium was firing through as well. Then a bizarre set of circumstances. Ben Edwards and Jolyon Palmer called it in commentary. They couldn't understand why Ferrari called him in. First of all, why they called him in the middle of his battle with Perez, and Carlos got quite angry about that. But then to call him in and drop him all the way back with a penalty that he couldn't ever hope to make up.
Yeah, I mean, I think we share that thought. I think everyone was very surprised with how the communication and how the call was taken at that point. Obviously, he had cleared Perez very impressively, by the way. I mean, to choose the outside around turn 13 was ballsy. 14, excuse me. And then actually I thought they would have had the pace to probably make a sufficient gap to either finish third or fourth, but they were probably too afraid for tyre wear and decided to box him anyway. But in hindsight, and obviously they could not have counted on that, but with the virtual safety car at the end, they almost would have had a free pit stop anyway.
Hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it? But even so, when we think about a guy like Gasly who changed onto mediums at the same time, his tyres seemed to last all the way to the end of the race.
Yeah.
They held on pretty well. It looked like
It was. I mean, if you did the math, there were like what 10 laps to go.
Yeah.
And the time penalty for a pit stop plus the 5 seconds penalty were tough to catch up.
A great drive from Carlos, though, putting on some beautiful moves, making it up from the back without that penalty, given his pace this weekend, because he was, for most part, the faster Ferrari driver of the two. This was another potential Carlos Sainz weekend.
Yeah, he's been on a good run. So
Yeah.
I hope for him he can keep it up and keep doing the job he does. But, you know, everyone needs to do his piece or to do their piece to obviously execute the result at the end of the weekend.
We haven't really spoken about Max Verstappen yet, who was faultless.
Faultless, that's the right word. I mean, we've hardly seen him on camera today. I mean, he just did everything
Been
right.
that far ahead.
Yeah, he's been that far ahead. He put the pressure at the right moment, and you know, he did his race. He looked after the tires and cruised it home, and he does exactly what he needs to do to bring that second championship home at the end of the year.
For Mercedes, everyone was expecting them to be fighting for the podium on merit. I don't think we can say this result is entirely on merit, but it did come from a phenomenal start from Lewis, managed to get ahead of the Red Bull of Sergio Perez, and never really looked like he was under that much threat from the second Red Bull driver.
No, and at some points of the race, Lewis's pace looked very competitive. Obviously, George took Sergio on merit, so
Yes.
it's not entirely fair to say that. I think the race pace looked really good, and ultimately it was a great team result. And so far this season, they've always been there to capitalize on everyone else's mistakes. So of course I have a slightly biased opinion, but I think we should give them some credit for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Take nothing away from Mercedes and the job that both drivers did today. It was brilliant, as you say, against Perez. Absolutely on merit. Had the two Ferraris been up there as well, perhaps a different story. Why within the team, if you can tell us, and if you can't, don't worry about it, don't want to get you in trouble. Why was this weekend not quite at the levels that Mercedes had set themselves? Because they were expecting to be far closer to the top two teams. And speaking with Lewis after qualifying, his words to me, exact words were, they're in another league.
I mean, it's obvious that both Red Bull and Ferrari are still very strong. I mean, yesterday the gap was quite big, but unfortunately, I don't have the answer. And I guess it's not up to me to try and make up that answer.
We'll try and find Toto later. It was an interesting weekend as well in the McLaren and Alpine fight. Of course, Alpine just moving slightly ahead of McLaren after this race. Alpine had one upgrade. McLaren had a whole raft of upgrades. And Alonso won out in the end in that battle, coming home in P6 ahead of Norris. Then Ocon P8, Ricciardo P9. Neither Daniel nor Esteban as happy with their cars as are their teammates.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Yuki Tsunoda in there, because he obviously started P8 and he got tapped in turn 8 by Esteban. And I felt sorry for him because he's done a great job, and it would have been nice to have the AlphaTauri in the mix of that fight. Obviously, everyone is bringing updates to the European events now, but it's not always that straightforward as that.
Bye.
It's not always that straightforward of bringing the update and seeing the performance right there on the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Fernando, I think, drove pretty well this weekend. He was worried yesterday after qualifying that they dialed in a little bit more quali pace and that might affect their race pace. But again, they didn't look that, well, Fernando at least, didn't look that troubled by McLaren in the Grand Prix itself.
No, I think Fernando and Alpine, they were a little bit in between the Mercedes and the McLarens in that race. And obviously, Fernando has been on a great run, and he always seems to be able to execute and deliver whenever it's required. So he certainly did a great job for the team.
He did, and let's hear from Fernando Alonso right now. He became the driver who has driven the most laps in Grand Prix history today and finished it off with a fine P6 finish at the flag.
Fernando, you said ahead of the race that you were worried about the McLarens, but P6 ahead of both of them, there's nothing to worry about, no?
Well, the start was crucial probably to get in front of Lando. I think they had very similar pace, but to be in front of them in the first couple of laps was enough to control the race and to control the pace, so happy for that. And let's go in Budapest, another go.
And we heard you trying to lure the McLarens to use up their tyres. That's your wily head and your experience working, isn't it?
Yeah, I wish I could challenge the Mercedes in front of us or Checo, but that was not our league. So from that moment, it was just to control them. And if they get closer to us, probably they will damage the tires. So it was not a concern at that moment.
Interesting to hear from Fernando there. Now, we were talking before we came on air about Esteban Ocon. Of course, had that contact early on, as you've just mentioned, with Yuki Tsunoda, but started P9, finished one place higher in P8.
Yeah, I think he would have been a little disappointed for not finishing or challenging perhaps Fernando without the 5 seconds penalty. But regardless, he has done a great race, and I think he should be happy. But perhaps deep inside, he's a bit gutted he couldn't have had the shot in challenging Fernando.
It's really weird. Again, talking to him after qualifying, he said when the upgrades come on the car, him and Fernando have very, very similar setups. But it'll be one weekend, everything feels great with Esteban's car, and then the next weekend, everything feels terrible. So, for example, Austria, everything felt great. This weekend, everything felt horrible. It yo-yos from weekend to weekend, and he can't put his finger on why that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, to have Fernando as a teammate is obviously... Oh, yeah, come in.
We're getting interrupted, but that's absolutely fine because it's Lando.
Interrupted.
Hello, Lando.
Hello.
P7.
Changed already. That's done quick.
You asked.
Want an ice cream?
We delivered. Last time in Austria, Lando said, "Where are the ice lollies?" So these pretty much are down to you. So we got you the job lead.
Oh my God!
Would you want a strawberry or an orange?
I want the strawberry.
You want a strawberry? Go on. I'll cut that open for you.
And it's more like Ferrari, and Ferrari are fast, so I need one of these.
Okay.
Bit of base. Eating a bit of base.
I need some lap time.
Tell us about your race.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say, to be honest. We just won quick enough. The Alpines were much quicker than were much quicker than us today. So I think we just did a very, very good job yesterday. My lap was very good, even to be in the middle of the two Mercedes, who showed today how much quicker they were. So I don't know. I just expected a little bit more from us, from our Paris and our car.
Hey, vriend. Well done.
You saw what? What? What's he seen?
I don't know. The writing was on the wall on Friday, though, wasn't it? Like after practice, because I remember you guys were saying one lap pace looked good, Alpine's race pace looked a little bit better. Was it just impossible to kind of get past that? Yeah,
I think it wasn't like this today was unexpected or a surprise. I said yesterday in the debrief pretty much what was going to happen today, and the struggles we have when it's high fuel, the tire wear comes into play. Like when we have new tires, low fuel, the car can cope with some things. Like it masks a lot of the problems, the new rubber, but as soon as we go high fuel and old tires, we expose so many problems, and we just can't handle that. So yeah, not a surprise, just disappointing, after the pace we had yesterday. I just would have loved to at least been able to fight, but I didn't even have the pace to do that. So.
But a whole new package, and we weren't expecting that because you guys had told us for ages no more upgrades for the whole season. Then we turn up here.
Well, no more which we're putting in place. Obviously, if we have an upgrade now,
so
it was already made 2 months ago.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Any more in line or down the line?
I have no idea. I think we have to reassess this package we've put on now and how it's worked. The comparisons between what's actually done to the car now versus the wind tunnel expectations, and change some things around.
Has it brought a little bit what you expected, or?
I think it has. I think if we didn't have the upgrades today, we probably wouldn't have finished in the points. So I do think we would have been slower yesterday for sure, and we would have been again slower today. So even though we were still behind Alpine and whatever, we were ahead of where we would have been if we didn't have the new bits. So
decent consistency as well. Same team result here that's in Austria.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. I just want to be faster and quicker and whatever. Tough day, but it's just where we are at the minute. We still have a lot of work to do to catch Alpine and to get ahead of them. They have a strong car. They've had a very strong car all season. They just had a lot of problems and made a lot of mistakes, and when they don't, then they're ahead of us.
Well, we'll let you get on. Thanks for coming on. Do you want a couple more? Do you want to take some back to the team?
I'm trying to lose weight currently because I'm a bit overweight.
Dude, come on, look, it's nothing to you.
I just hide my belly under my t-shirt. I'm serious.
Do you want to take
too much Coca-Cola.
It's just ice. I mean, do you want?
I'm overweight.
What flavour do you want? Do you want to take an orange and a strawberry back?
No, actually.
Don't worry, I'll have a few extra. I have a lot of
You can get away with it.
Yeah, I can get away with it.
From Marie, it doesn't matter what you do.
Give them to everybody that's boiling up. No? You don't want to give them to the team?
They don't deserve it. I'm joking. The mechanic, it was a good pit stop today. They deserve it.
They didn't hear that.
Apparently you guys don't deserve it, but you grab a couple of ice pops. Unbelievable.
Did you actually get them just for me?
Yeah, well, you said on the last show, why don't you do ice pops anymore? And it reminded me that we hadn't done them for a while. And
No, I'm sorry to disappoint you. He's lying.
I think you just got them for you.
No. Well, it's a nice excuse to have ice pops, but thanks, mate. Go away. Thanks, Lando. Great drive. Right, why don't we hear from his teammate, who I'm sure is a much nicer chap with far nicer things to say, and won't point at Greg's belly either. Here he is.
Daniel, started P9, finished P9. How was that? I suppose that was an afternoon of learning for you with the new package.
It was okay. I mean, obviously we're in the points, but 9th isn't really enough points to make me too satisfied. I guess it was more just the pace, hanging on. I think once we got through halfway through the stint, the others could just keep that pace, and I simply just fall off. Just aren't able to use any more of, I feel like, the tyre or the grip, and don't feel like I am aggressive on the tyre or anything. So it's just simply can't hold what the others can. So still certainly tricky out there. And obviously playing defense when I want to be on the attack. Tried to hold on to Esteban Ocon for as long as I could, but in the end, the Alpine, I think, were a bit too quick today, and managed to hold on to the Astons at the end. But obviously, as I said, want to be catching cars, not falling back into the hands of the others.
But did you get a bit of a vibe with the new package in the sense that it could come to you in future races?
Did I get a vibe? Like ISSA? Like ISSA vibe, that sort of vibe? Or more like don't kill my vibe, more that one? You look as confused as probably everyone listening right now.
Is this a vibe? Is that Australian?
No, but that's okay. See you in Budapest.
I'm going to end up on YouTube.
Well, here he is, the driver of the day, Carlos Sainz. What a drive, man. All the way from the back, pulling off moves everywhere. You were sensational.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a fun race. Not so much at the beginning with the hard tire that couldn't get out of turn 6 traction. I was really struggling and really struggling to get a move on people. But as soon as I put that medium tire, the pace really picked up, and I started having fun. A few tight moves there with George and Checo. Made it stick in the end, and got to a podium place that then slipped away from us, but I'll take it.
Do you think you would have been able to make a sufficient gap to take that podium at the end of the race with the medium tire?
Well, first of all, the team believed that the tire wouldn't have made it to the end, so I would have lost position to Checo, to George, and with the 5-second penalty even to Fernando. So this was their feeling.
Their
so
full process.
They took the decision to box me, play it safe, go for P5 and fastest lap. And they have a lot more data, as you know, than me on the car. But as a driver, you start 19th, you make it to the podium even with a slow pit stop, a 5-second penalty, and then you suddenly see yourself in the podium. You have great pace, and you want to finish on that podium, and to suddenly get stopped at that point was frustrating, and that's why maybe on the radio I was a bit vocal.
These are some of your best moments for the race. Some great overtakes, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, the one on Paris was impressive.
Yeah,
on the outside.
side by side for a long time.
Talk to us about that. When you're going outside wheel to wheel around those incredibly high-speed corners, you've got to put your faith in the other guy.
Yeah, I know Checo well, and he's a great guy to battle with. Also George, they don't make stupid things, and we all know we are doing 300 kph. So if we have contact, we know there's a big one happening. Yeah. So we have that respect for each other, that we don't want to do stupid things, because the speeds that we're doing, you tried the car in FP1 and you know how quick we're going this year, and it's like that, and great respect, especially because Checo was the whole time in my dead spot in the mirror. I never knew where he was, because it's right here where you don't see like this, and the mirror points backwards. So you need to give it space. You need to go side by side for a long time, trying to catch clean air, to have the downforce, and then in the end, turn 15 made it stick, and then use the DRS.
Did you ignore the team's call to box at that point?
That lap, yes, because I was in the middle of the move, and I was like,
you wanted to do
I'm going to finish this one. Because I knew that pitting I was going to lose 32 seconds, so one lap later, one lap earlier, it's not going to change my life. I'm still going to get fastest lap. That was on my head, so I was like, yeah, let me finish the overtake at least, get to P3 and then box. And I was like, okay, now I can box.
You've been so fast all weekend without that engine change. Could have been the one, couldn't it, today? Could have been another win.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday, I think the Q2 lap proves that I would have fought for pole position. Then you can get it, not get it, but that lap was a good lap. Today, pace was good, especially as soon as I put the medium tire. If we would have started at the front, I think it would have been a great battle with Max the whole way. If starting 19th, I think with a perfect race, we should have finished on the podium with the help of the safety car. In the end, slow pit stop, 5-second penalty, P5, fastest lap. I'm going to take it. There's just that bittersweet feeling of the whole weekend being so fast, so strong, and getting P5.
You just got a win in Hungary. That's it. Go into the summer break with the win. I mean, what does this do for your championship?
That's the target. I mean, to get a win in Hungary and go into a summer break with a good momentum. I've been very fast the last few races. I will take one after. What is this?
That's orange.
This is the one I want. And I think the last 3-4 races I've been a lot faster, a lot more comfortable. This weekend proves it. So, yeah, without the DNF in Austria plus a good weekend here, I think I can be confident that we could have a good weekend in Budapest.
Thanks for coming on the show. Just want to point out one small thing. Lando chose a Ferrari red one and you've chosen a McLaren orange one. So Carlando's still going strong.
Still.
Look at that.
It's incredible. Oh, thank you.
There you go, dude.
It's frozen.
It is frozen.
Thank you.
Enjoy, my man. A brilliant drive, a brilliant day.
Well done.
See you next time. What a drive, what a guy. Absolutely brilliant. That battle with Perez. I mean, corner after corner, wheel to wheel. And as he said, for the majority of it, he's in his blind spot. You just got to have pure faith that both of you are going to respect each other enough, give each other enough space. And it was beautiful to watch.
And we don't quite respect the speeds. Obviously, Carlos touched on it, but the speeds are enormous. And if you do make contact at those speeds, it is going to be a big one.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, fair play to them.
It was great.
Great to watch.
It's great fun, isn't it? Just as a fan.
It was a good race.
I mean, for us, just as fans watching it, for you as a driver, do you sit there, do you get like...
Oh, I'm standing up.
In the moment.
I'm standing up.
But you appreciate that more than any of us can because we watch it and say, wow, that's incredible. Cool. I could never do that. You sit there and go, I mean, well, what do you think? Because obviously...
Well, you know how difficult it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, why don't we hear from Sergio Perez, the other half of that brilliant battle with Carlos Sainz.
So Sergio, an epic battle with George, unfortunately ended up on the wrong side of it. How did you see the battle from your side?
Yeah, it was a good battle, apart from turn 8. If I do the corner, we will just have ruin our races. But other than that, it was a good, tough battle. Good race from George in that regard. And I just got screwed with this virtual safety car because it said he was going to end up out of turn 9. So I went for it, but then it didn't end up, and then it ended up into turn 13. So I don't know what they were doing with it.
And how do you reflect on the weekend as a whole? Because it was your worst weekend, at least before qualifying, but are you satisfied with the P4?
No, certainly not. I wish I could have finished on the podium and get a 1-2, but Mercedes was very strong. It was very difficult to overtake them today.
Lovely to hear from Sergio Perez. Why don't we now hear from his team boss, Christian Horner, on a day when it's a Mercedes, well, 2 Mercedes on the podium, but a brilliant day for Max Verstappen taking the win. And, of course, a difficult day for their nearest, closest, most fierce rivals this season, Ferrari.
Christian, congratulations.
Thank you.
A straightforward win, I assume, given that Charles was out of contention. I would have liked to have seen the battle, and maybe you would have too.
I think we would all like to have seen that. I mean, the most important thing is, look, it looks a nasty accident, and Charles is okay. So, thankfully that's fine. But, we pulled the trigger early. We went for the undercut. We had track position effectively, with that, pitting Max on that lap. But we never got to see how it would have played out. But so in the end, great victory for us, a really important victory. Just unlucky with Checo with the virtual safety car not to get him on the podium as well.
I was surprised that Max couldn't make that move early on. We were sort of wondering whether he was holding back on purpose, playing a bit of cat and mouse. Was that all part of the strategy?
There was no real cat and mouse. I mean, you could see Ferrari were very quick off turn 6, so we were struggling to get close enough to make that DRS actually, effective and make the pass. But as the fuel load was coming off, it would have been interesting to see how that would have played out, especially as well on the hard tyre. But we've got track position by then, so I think we were very quick in sector 2 today. I think we would have had enough, hopefully, to have held Charles off, but we didn't get to see it.
Were you always planning to pit when you did? And was the undercut what you were always going to
No,
try and...
I think, initially we were thinking 2-stop, then converted to a 1-stop. So, it was a race that was constantly evolving because actually the tyre wear was better than we thought.
And then that moment with George and Perez, how did you see it from your pit? Well, it always looks different, doesn't it?
It's tough. I mean, there was a problem with the virtual safety car, so they came on the radio and said, we've got to reset the software. And the most important thing with a virtual safety car, you have to stick to a time delta. And Checo was absolutely on that delta. And George had slowed down and then accelerated, but still below the delta. Just at the fortuitous time, it went green. And so he was actually going 30 kilometers an hour faster than, it was like jumping a light, or getting it absolutely right. And so, he got lucky. Checo was unlucky. Would have been lovely to see him up there on the podium, but one of those things.
Looking ahead to next week, obviously the races come thick and fast this week. What are you rating your chances as being in Hungary?
Again, I think it's going to be very tight. I think that type of circuit, a bit like Monaco without the barriers, again, we're expecting Ferrari, particularly on a single lap there, to be very competitive, and overtaking is even harder there. So, it's important for us to sort of round off this part of the season competitively. The championships, are looking healthy, but there's still such a long way to go.
Mercedes in the mix with you, do you reckon, next week as well?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, they were competitive today. Max was 10 seconds clear at the end of the race, but they're definitely working their way back into it.
Well done today. Enjoy the celebrations.
I hope your mum enjoyed it.
She's just loved the whole weekend. The shout outs.
Does she have a handle? Does she have a hashtag or anything? Or
Coochie Tennant.
Coochie Tennant.
Coochie Tennant. There you go.
There you go. Or hashtag Rosanna's mum.
Hashtag Rosanna's mum. Christian, thank you so much. Enjoy your evening.
Thanks a lot.
My mum will enjoy hers.
What's going on?
Do you know what? If I was Christian's missus, I'd be a little bit worried about Christian's seeming sort of non-stop chatting about Rosanna's mum this weekend. Right, let's move on to the George move on Sergio Perez, because it was coming. He tried it. It was a little optimistic. Then he got a little bit upset, and Toto got on the phone and said, "Head down, lads. You've got to do it properly." And properly he did, and it was a great move in the end.
I did think the first one was very, very optimistic, but still he made it stick. He kept it kind of between the lines. He didn't went straight.
He made it stick because he knocked Perez off the track.
He avoided the collision. No, that's fair. But the way he got back and how he played it at the end of the virtual safety car was obviously very clever. I assume Sergio was like on the limit of his delta. George left a bit of margin and got the run on him. And played it very, very strong till the end. And then in a penultimate lap, I think he made a small lockup into turn 15, and then he obviously gave Sergio the kind of opportunity to come back, and he smelled a bit of blood. But he made it till the end. So well done.
It was a great run. It was a great drive. George, even after quality and the disappointment of the car not being quite to the pace that everyone at Mercedes had hoped, he still felt that the podium was in there, still believed that there was a shot. Although he's been behind Lewis for the last couple of races, this first half a year for him at Mercedes has been desperately impressive.
I think they've been very close all year. Obviously, Lewis had a bit of bad luck at the beginning of the year, and the coin just didn't really fall his way. And Lewis had a good run the last couple of weekends, but ultimately they've both been very, very, very even. And George has been extremely consistent and always very, very strong and executing the results. So fair play to him.
Well, we've heard from Christian. Why don't we hear from Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff before we hear from George himself.
Toto, you told me yesterday that you'd taken a step backwards, but the podium looked pretty good from your point of view this afternoon.
Yeah, it was good, but second and third, the team worked really tirelessly. The drivers were great, smart, clever. We're just missing some pace compared to Leclerc and Verstappen in the initial laps, and this is what we just need to understand.
Well, both your drivers seem hungrier than ever. Fantastic start from Lewis, and George sending it full beams.
Yeah, and clever.
Well done.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the podium celebrations.
Great to hear from Toto, a very happy Toto. Is there a different vibe in the garage when things are going well?
Well, of course it helps, and obviously today's result was a great result for the team. But you know, today's result may also not mask the reality. The team is sometimes facing in qualifying, and obviously yesterday's gap is not pleasant and not where they are comfortable with. So you know, apart from being super happy and satisfied with today's result, they also we as a team need to continue to push and close that gap in qualifying.
Well, let's hear from George Russell now, coming home today for another podium in 2022.
George, double podium for Mercedes, but I'd like to start by talking about their epic fight with Sergio and particularly that VSC start. That was pretty nifty from you.
Pretty nifty is one way of putting it. I knew that would be a massive opportunity for me. Checo was a bit all over the place during the whole VSC, so I knew that if I timed it perfectly and I got the run on him, I might have an opportunity, and I think he was kind of braking to make sure he was still above the delta time while I was accelerating, and it gave me that run to overtake him, so that was really satisfying. But it was really tricky in those last 3 laps. It's clear what our strengths and weaknesses are. As a team, we clearly struggle in qualifying when the tyres are new and cold. We struggle with the tyre warm-up after the pit stops, but we're really strong when the tyres are hot. But after that VSC, the tyres cooled down, it was a restart again, and the Red Bull had the advantage on me, or Checo had the advantage on me, so I had to do my best to keep him behind.
But just generally, from this weekend, how satisfied are you now that we look onto Hungary?
Well, I think, it was great for both of us to finish ahead of Checo on merit, on pure pace. Charles and Max have a clear pace advantage on the two of us at the moment, probably 2 or 3 tenths in race condition. So if we want to start fighting for victories, we still need to find a lot of performance. But we're really closing that gap rapidly, and I don't think we'll have anything extra for Budapest, but maybe after the summer break we can keep on making steps. Thank you.
What? If we do what? Oh, hello, we're back. Everyone was
distracted
and
by the
somewhere
ice
else.
creams and the sun.
I know.
It's fine.
George, obviously, very, very happy guy. His armoury is so strong this season. Where can he improve? Are there any elements that, from within the team, that he's particularly working on, or is it just in general as a racing driver that after every race you go back, you look at the positives and the negatives, learn from everything?
I think George is very analytic, and he works very hard. He puts a lot of time and dedication into work with the team, and obviously every weekend they will reflect and see where they could have done better. And I think as a team they still have steps to take and make to close the gap to obviously the guys in front. But George has done a great season so far.
He most certainly has. And as for Lewis as well, it wasn't the easiest start to the year for him, but this is what world champions do. They just get their heads down, get the job done week in, week out. He's been very, very impressive with the legwork that he's put in on those upgrades, the developments, taking the more difficult setups to gain a greater understanding of the car, and it seems like it's paying off.
Yeah, it's always very easy from the outside to have an opinion and to criticize and to, say that maybe at the start of the season George looked to have a little bit the upper hand, but when you look closely, I think Lewis was always there. But as I said earlier, he just had a bit of bad luck, and often it really didn't came his way. And in the recent races, whenever it did came to him, he showed that he still definitely got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
More than that.
Now, Lewis, obviously 300 races today. He has never gone a Formula One season without winning. Can he win one this year?
Let's hope so. Would be
Let's
great.
hope so. I think he can, and I think we're about to get him live as well.
Well done, man.
Lewis, congratulations. That's yours. That is yours. A brilliant drive. What does this mean for you on your 300th Grand Prix start?
Thank
but
you.
for the team, after all the work you guys have been doing this season, a 2-3 here, French Grand Prix just before the summer break.
Yeah, honestly, a mega result. Great work from Nick here on Friday morning.
He's too kind.
What a result for us. We definitely didn't expect that. But this is, it's about the whole package, and reliability is a big part of this also. And I think I don't count it as lucky for us. I think we've just done a better job in terms of the reliability side of things, making less mistakes. And I think today is a fantastic result for us as a team. Great points. Of course, we don't have the pace as those two guys. They really pulled away in 15 laps, and Max was just chilled in front of me. But in his toe, he was just pulling away down the straight. So we've got a lot of work and ground to cover, but in the race pace, we're a little bit closer.
Brilliant. We know you can only come on for one question. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
I know you didn't have the drinks bottle. Do you want an ice lolly?
No, I'm good.
Are you all right?
Actually, I'm well.
Yes.
You deserve a treat.
We're pretty sure. Can you get Rosa to double check before you go? What flavour do you want? We've got orange, big orange strawberries. Yeah?
It's like the ones at school.
Yeah, exactly. They're like exactly the ones from school. Take as many as you want. You're the last guest.
Great.
Rosa won one as well. Rosa,
I'm
which colour?
sorry, they've melted a little bit. Is that okay? Well done, dude. Nice. Happy customer.
Happy customer.
A happy customer. At Will and
Where
Nick's
did they
sweet
pay?
shop. They don't need to pay.
Oh, they don't customers, they just get presents.
I'm not great with business.
Okay.
Let's be honest with that. Let's talk about Max then, finally. A brilliant race from Max Verstappen today. With 27 wins, he now equals Sir Jackie Stewart. Today was his and Lewis's 50th appearance on a podium together. He leads the championship by 63 points. It's his 7th win of the season. He just keeps firing in, doesn't he? It's relentless.
Well, he's been faultless. He's done a great season so far. Very few. Well, I think, did he make any mistakes? I can't recall any.
Not that I can think
no,
of.
He's always done his job. Very consistent, very fast, and in the race, when it really has to happen, he is there and he is delivering the results. So, yeah, to me, it looks like he is going to cruise down to his 2nd World Championship this year.
How devastating is that for the other 19 drivers when someone like Max is in a car that's that good, performing at that level and getting better and raising the bar, because that target keeps shifting every single weekend?
It's the whole package. Obviously, he certainly has a lot of pressure from Ferrari, and obviously Charles is clearly doing a great job in qualifying. So it's not, gifted to him. And in the past, we've often seen cycles that, Mercedes, Red Bull, and everyone had a cycle of successes. So it's not something uncommon, but I think that Max and Red Bull package at the moment is tough to beat. And Ferrari is challenging them, but they need a little more to complete the job.
How much more do they need? Only one man can answer that, and it's Mattia Binotto. Rosanna is with him.
Mattia, where do we start? I'm going to start with Charles. Have you spoken with him and talked through the incident?
Yeah, I spoke with him, not speaking about the accident. There is nothing much to say about it. It's a genuine mistake. It may happen, and you may have issues on an engine reliability. That's a DNF. You need to count for it. But no. I think we've got full trust in Charles. He's a fantastic driver. He's got a fantastic potential. And I'm pretty sure that there are 10 races to go, and he will do his best, try to recover from what happened today. And as a team, we are supporting him as much as we can. I think if we look at today, there is a lot of positive. As first is the pace. The second is the tire degradation. I think we had, once again, a bit of edge on the Red Bull, which certainly was for us was important. Max had to stop because somehow he was degrading. We could have extended our first stint with Charles, and so everything was looking promising. Carlos as well did a fantastic race today, recovering from somehow from the back of the grid. He overtook, he had passions at the start, he then overtook car per car up to the front of the race. So overall we got a good package. Lucky enough, I would say, that there is Hungary in 7 days' time. Important for us is to turn page as quick as possible, and we are already focused on it.
Any regrets over bringing Carlos in and doing what you did?
No, I think that was the right choice. So we waited somehow to make sure we had a good read on the tires life, not to overshoot on decision. Tires life was showing us that we could not finish the race on the medium. It would have been too risky. On top of it, we don't think that he would have opened sufficiently the gap 5 seconds to George and Checo, because he had 5 seconds penalty. So by stopping, at least he got the fastest lap, and that was the best choice for us.
Well, good luck for next weekend. I imagine you need that momentum for the summer break.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mattia. Thank you.
Gone on vacation as a tomato before we even started it.
So that was Mattia Binotto. Only one person left to hear from on this show, and it's Max Verstappen, your race winner.
Max, your 7th victory of the season. You made it look pretty easy, but I doubt it was very easy in the cockpit.
Well, once I was in the lead to the end, it was all about managing the tires. But you could see in the beginning it was very close between myself and Charles. Fortunately, of course, he dropped out. But yeah, I'm of course very happy with the win. But we also know there is still a bit of work to do.
Do you feel that you had Charles under control before his retirement, or was he starting to pull away from you?
Well, I would have, of course, liked to be ahead, but it was very hard to pass. I mean, it was already very tough just driving by yourself with the tires overheating. So following him for quite a few laps within a second, I think damaged my tires a little bit. But I still thought, you know, even if he would have continued on another set, that we would have had a good battle. Right.
And that is pretty much all we've got time for today. Apologies, you may have heard a little bit at the end of our tomato chat. Nick was just saying I'm going on holiday, possibly looking like a tomato today.
No, we're glad we put the sun cream.
Oh, we're glad we put the sun cream on. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We sun creamed up before the show started, thank heavens. It's been a hot weekend. It's been a great weekend. I'm so glad you got to go out in the Mercedes.
Thank you
Last
very
of all,
much.
how was that? Enjoy it?
It was brilliant. It was fast, cool, and I really loved every second of it.
And back to racing ways for you. We're all off on break, but you're going back racing.
Not everyone yet. We have Budapest left.
Budapest
obviously.
next.
Yeah. We are racing next weekend in London, Formula E, and then there is one weekend left in Seoul, second weekend of August. So no break for me.
Well, best of luck to
Thank you
mate.
very
I
much.
hope they go well. Finish it off with a couple of wins, yeah?
Yeah, we'll do our best.
Good. Good
See
luck,
you
mate.
afterwards.
Yes, absolutely, mate.
Nicely
As always,
tanned
mate,
and
just
everything.
such a joy, such an honour to have you on the show. Really appreciate your insight. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate. Right, that is for... it has been a long weekend. That is it for us here in France. The next Grand Prix is, of course, in Budapest next weekend. Join us back on F1 TV for all of the previews, the practices, quali, the race, your pre-shows, your post-shows, all of your insight from the team on the ground in Budapest. But from Nick, from me, from Rosanna, from Greg in the pen, from everyone behind the camera that you don't get to see and who honestly you don't want to see right now because they are sweaty messes, it is a very warm goodbye, and we'll see you in Budapest.